What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I am also on YouTube and TikTok at March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, then you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing, man? I hope that life finds you well as you are listening to this episode. We're creeping up on 200 episodes. We will cross that threshold together next year in 2026. Sounds a little spacey, but I am getting older, but I'm still young. And I don't feel old. I just feel nostalgic now that I get older. The 90s seem way cooler now. I miss them way more now. Stuff that I used to really love as a kid is still really cool now. Music that I love, some things happening in music right now are things that were happening like 25 years ago that people, really dissed for a while and are cool again, like new metal. And I'm at an age where I'm like kind of reflective, nostalgic, more conscious of my mortality. Statistically speaking, my life is about half over, but I'm looking at it as the glass half full, not half empty, kids. So I appreciate every one of you who listens to the show, everybody who takes the time to like and subscribe or tell your friends about it. All of those things go a long way in helping the show go out to more people, especially when you leave a rating and a review on whatever streaming service this is hitting your eardrums in, man. So really appreciate it genuinely. I love music. I love mental health. And I love that I get to talk about it on this podcast and share some really awesome guests with you guys. Hopefully put you on to new music when it's a musical guest, and it is most of the time because your boy loves music. And yeah, man, I'm just out here trying to cast a positive ripple effect. And not to sound self-righteous, but Lord knows we need some positivity in the times we're living in globally. So, I'm not going to get into all the stuff going on in the world other than to say, I love everybody. I want everybody to love everybody. And I know that's really kind of an idealist perspective. Some would say not realistic, but damn it, I'm going to do everything I can in my corner of the world to bring people together, man. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for headbanging. And speaking of good people, bringing people together, tuning in and headbanging. This week's guest is a really great guy. He's a cool cat. He is a return guest of this podcast, and I had seen some content coming out from him with his new project, and I listened to the debut single, and I was like, holy shnikes, this is a banger. This is totally in my wheelhouse in terms of hardcore and metalcore. The artwork that was put together for it was sick. And this guy just happens to be a great human being that I love to chat with every time I get to chat with him. He is none other than Nard Grice. He is the brains behind the new hardcore Virginia Beach project, Ruckus, Virginia, and it's abbreviated Ruckus VA. If you want to check it out, the links will be in the podcast description. But please stick around and listen to the conversation before you headbang to Ruckus. But Nard is a great guy, man. He's been on the show, I think, twice before this in his previous project. Always have great conversations with this dude. We have talked about mental health before, but this guy is a beast on the bass. He's a beast on the mic, as you guys will hear in this as well. He's getting in his hands into a lot creatively between music production, Ruckus, his previous projects. The guy does tie-dye, like really cool tie-dye. Has done that, and in addition to that, what I really love about talking with Nard, man, is I feel like we're kindred spirits in terms of, as you guys will hear in this conversation, we share kind of similar vibes in terms of being, kind of extroverted introvert, and not to like, describe him as you guys will hear him talk about himself in this conversation, but just those feelings of maybe feeling like you don't always fit in. you know, or that you're kind of an outcast at times, that you can be kind of a loner. Um, and what I like about this conversation is, and like I said, we've touched on it before, both times that he's been on previously in his previous band. But Nard has always been very open about mental health, and I just think that it's cool that this episode synced up with Suicide Prevention Awareness Month here in the United States. And this Friday, Ruckus, Virginia is getting ready to drop a new single called 3 Foot Grave. Decidual Cast, the debut single, came out on July 28th. So, as Nard and I had this conversation, it was about a month and a half into him making Ruckus VA public to the world, and then being on my radar. And so I think the timing of this, with it being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, with the new single 3 Foot Grave coming out this Friday, it couldn't have been a better time to catch up with Nard as he's getting the ball rolling with Ruckus VA and talk about music and mental health and us just vibing as human beings, man, who love creativity and headbang. And so, without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Nard Grice of Ruckus VA. Here it is. Well, Nard, it's it's great to see you again, dude. Great to get you back on the show. It's been a minute, and you've got some new stuff cooking, and I've been keeping up with the Instagram posts and really dug the first single. So I'm excited to get into all of it with you, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Mike. I'm happy to be back. It's been a while, so I mean, it's kind of like coming back, hanging out with the homies, just talking some music and stuff, you know?
Oh yeah, man. Well, just on that, we'll just get right into it with Ruckus VA. This is your new musical in Denver, and Decidual Cast, right? Am I saying that right? Is the first one out the gate? It's a banger, I think, for anybody who's into like deathcore, death metal breakdowns. Obviously, it's got some flavor from your previous band a little bit, but it's cool. And I think, I guess, just a question in there that I really want to ask you is, at a point in your last band, I had seen you doing more even vocal covers and stuff that you were posting. And it was cool to see you really do those growls, because when I first heard House Divided, I wasn't like aware that you were doing that. And then as I kind of familiarized myself with you guys and having you on the show and stuff, I'm like, oh, Nard's got he's got those demon pipes in him. He can really go there. And I feel like you're really showing that off with the Ruckus VA stuff, man. So how long have you really been exploring that part of your musicality beyond being somebody who plays the bass and is a musician in addition to singing?
Honestly, I started working on this about 2, 3 years ago, but it was a completely different avenue. It was actually EDM house music. I started working on beats, started working on sample work and stuff like that, which actually I feel like for me doing that for those couple of years gave me a good foundation to actually know what to do when it came to songwriting. And then, with my previous project, I had my moment. I left that project and I started to actually work on Ruckus. I pretty much just kind of took it to like a duck to water. Like I just kind of learned from the years of me being in my last project to now of what is a good song, what is songwriting entailing, and what do I want it to be a part of that's making it my vision rather than just being something that is a cut and paste type situation, you know?
Yeah, man, and just to kind of build on that. So obviously, like the more house music stuff, a different end of the spectrum. Has that always been a passion to kind of learn the beats and the production side of things?
Yeah, I actually there was a good point where I always had ambitions to do more than write bass or to do vocals, and I always wanted to have a space for me to feel free to do that. But unfortunately, I just never was part of a project or part of a group of people that gave me that freedom or made me feel like I was heavily scrutinized or criticized. So it got to a point where I think I was even talking to my fiance, and I think right once this year started, I was already had a couple years of EDM work, and I put out like a whole EP for it, and I was like, wow, I did that myself, and I was had no gripes, no problems, no nothing, and I was very proud of myself. And as things were going on with my previous project, I just started having these conversations with her saying, like, hey, like, I kind of want to make my own thing. I kind of want to just make a standalone piece just for myself to enjoy and for myself to just see what I'm made of, basically. And honestly, I kept talking to her every so couple weeks. Every bit, I would give her another idea, give her another little thing that I would want to put into it. And then one day I was just like, I was listening to Wu-Tang Clan. And that's when I was like, I want to call it Ruckus. And as soon as she was like, that's actually really cool, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna keep it. And then that was pretty much story. That was like how the story kind of got paved. And now I'm just kind of walking it now.
Hell yeah, man. So can you tell me and the people how many Decidual Cast is the first one that came out July 28th. So as we're speaking, it's been about a month and a half, and as this is gonna hit people's ears, it's gonna be like the end of September. So about 2 months out the gate.
Hmm.
Um, what was it like as somebody with the kind of experience, like you said, doing EDM and putting that out yourself, but also all the years of making this kind of music in your previous project? Like, um, was there nerves? Was there excitement to put out Decidual Cast? Like, and how did you come up with that one being the first one, man?
Honestly, it was an interesting back and forth because for a little treat for the listeners is that basically I have almost about an EP worth of music in the background, and I had about two or three set up before I finally decided Decidual Cast, and I felt really tied to Decidual Cast not because of that it was the favorite or the most polished single out of it so far, but mainly because of the statement. The statement really is just kind of like, Decidual Cast. And if anybody who doesn't know, you can Google that. I don't want to tell you because I don't know what the community guidelines would look like for your podcast. But all I'm just going to say is that basically it's just a waste product given off by a person with a uterus. And I decided to make that the song because as soon as the year started, as soon as I had my gripes with the current administration and how things operated, to the point where I wanted to hit the ground running with a very big statement piece. And I thought, given just how gnarly the name sounds, but also what that related to in terms of just how people have been acting, how people treat other people, and how people in marginalized spaces are being treated by said folks, to the point where I wanted to make sure that one, I wanted to let them know where I stood, but also to make sure that no one has these confusions that I'm not in that position, and that I do take heart to those things and I do care about those things and about the people that are being victimized basically and being demonized in the same breath. It's kind of crazy. So I picked it for that reason, just to kind of have a solid middle finger, really just starting it off.
Yeah, because towards the end of the song, I've listened to it a few times. There's a line about karma, and then there's kind of another breakdown that comes after that before it trails out, you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, it's heavy musically and lyrically.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. And like honestly, like, and for some reason, like, I decided because I always loved samples and sound bites in music. I am a scene kid when I was growing up. I loved that. I loved when anyone could take a nasty breakdown or a really crazy riff and then put something completely different or what makes no sense or kooky, but it somehow adds it adds an extra bit of weight and adds some sort of fun to it that kind of makes it even more of like this is a hard song, but it gives you enough something to make you say I could dance to this or I could enjoy this for more than just the brutality of it. And I love Decidual Cast also is because I'm a very big Schoolboy Q fan. So I thought it only made the most sense to start it with Decidual Cast.
Can you break down, if you don't mind, because I do know that sometimes vocalists like the lyrics to be subjective to the listener, but can you break down like where that because there's like that sample that you use, like where that came from, and then also that karma line before it goes into the breakdown. Like what was like that sample or that sound bite that you use? Like where was that from?
So it is originally by I think the cherry. Hold on. Hold- Chromatic, I think. Sorry, my fiance had to help me. So it's like we will find out as she is googling that, but it's actually a small EDM group that was going on in the early 2000s, I believe, or 2010s. And basically Chromatics, Cherry by the Chromatics. So that is where you get that little MIDI kind of like is from just that song. But I never knew that that was a sample until I started listening to more to Schoolboy Q Man of the Year. And if anybody who's listening knows that song, it's got that little drone bit that starts it off that's always throughout the song, and that is actually by that group. So I was just like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I thought that it would be even more important to let that be known because I think a lot of people didn't know that that's where the sample came from. People just thought it was Schoolboy. And I love that I get to be able to not just incorporate it into my work, but also give homage to those people and give that homage to this is the stuff that I listened to and found inspiration to kind of not even just say this is what the work came from, but also to show that this is not just one sense of things, it's many layers in one.
Right on, man. Yeah, I dig it. It's a really good track. And are you doing for this and the songs that you have in the bag? Like, are you doing all the music yourself, Nard? Like all the instrumentation?
That is correct. I am doing everything. I made sure that every time I stepped foot into a studio working with projects and tracking and everything to actually really pay attention to what our producer or our engineer was doing, not because like I just wanted to just take all their flair or whatever, take the stuff that they know, but just so I could learn how the process is supposed to be. Like how is from like a bare fundamental process, how should you start things? How should you go with drums? How you should go with guitar? You should change up things between parts, and I think that helps also because I just catch on to that very easily. But yeah, like I have done all the drums, I have done the guitars, I've done all the bass, I've done the vocals. I think the only thing that I haven't actually done myself were just the sample work, honestly. And that I even still put my own spin and change it up to kind of make it my own little atmospheric addition to everything.
Yeah, man, it's cool. It's cool when those elements get added to a song, like when you see a song from where it starts, where you have the instrumentation, but then when people add in like the samples or like the synths and that kind of stuff, it really does add like atmosphere to it. Did you do the artwork yourself too?
Yes, I did. I am doing honestly like beyond my good friend Kenneth He is the one that actually took care of doing a visualizer for us, but which you can find him in KJR or KRJ Studios if anybody wants some cool visualizers or editing done. And honestly, yeah, I've just been making a lot of different pieces of content, making like even merch designs, which is taking a little bit more time to just get it actually made. But I've been honestly on a creative kick doing everything.
That's sick, man. And for people who don't know, I don't know if you're still doing it, but I want to shout it out. But you've been doing some tie dye too, like some unique like tie dye work. I'd seen that popping up too. Are you still doing that?
Oh man, I actually took a step back from it. Like I still love it. I'm actually looking at my tie-dye equipment right now behind the camera. And I'm just like, it's been a while because I used to love doing that just even for my own like therapy. It's like just the little process of it all. So like I want to bring it back. That is for sure. Because I even have some of my friends that are like, hey man, are you gonna bring back tie-dye? Are you gonna bring back doing the shirts, man? Those are really cool, man. I was just like, I'm gonna set it up so I can hit it with the best way possible. I want to try to take it with a better approach because I feel like I went a little too fast and I think I should have went in with a far more slow, steady kind of way of going about it. But it's not going to be over. It's coming back. Just don't know when.
You're a creative cat, man. Yeah, I saw some of those popping up, and I'm like, yo, it takes time to make the designs look like that because there's like the spiral, that is like the most common one. But just I have a hoodie that I want to do it to because I kind of messed it up when I washed it. There's there's a couple of spots where I like it came brand new, but it there was a couple of dirt marks on it, and then I put some shout on it, but I let it sit too long and it's a gray hoodie. And so
Oh,
when I washed it, it left like, the lighter gray spot. And so
hmm.
I'm like, I want to try to like reverse dye it, like bleach dye it, So I was looking some stuff up with like I'm like, that'd be kind of sick on like a dark gray hoodie. But I was like, I don't know if I really want to do a spiral. I kind of want to do the thing where like you kind of crimp it and clump it up a little bit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because
Hmm.
you had a couple like that too, and it almost turns out like some of those little clump marks, they almost look like flames. I just think that detail is pretty cool when you do tie dye.
Oh, I agree. It's like honestly, the best way is I like the crimp method because you get so many different intricate designs without even being intentional. Like there'll be a lot of times where I'll just get a shirt ready, it's ready to go. How do I do it? I'll just grab random portions of the shirt and just crimp it up. And then just kind of squish it into a little ball. And then it's like that's it. Whatever comes out is that's what it is. And I have gotten so many like cool stuff. Like I've done my fiance Sam's t-shirts. I think I've done like some pants for her that look really sick. I think I've done even my own pajama pants and stuff. Like I've pretty much did a whole upgrade on my entire like outfits and stuff like that just by just putting some bleach on and some dye, and it just completely changes it to a totally different thing.
That's cool, man. Like what ever since you were a kid, like have you always had like that creative itch? Is anybody else in your family, do they have like that as well, whether it's with physical art or music?
I think in my family there has been a lot of people that want to be creative or try to get themselves to get in that space to have that creative spark. Like I know my mother, she's always been about, painting or things like that, or even just even arts and crafts. Like I think that was when I like remember the most about growing up with my mom is that we always did arts and crafts and stuff like that. My dad's not really much of a figure in my life, so that's unfortunate. But my sister, myself, we always like to do things to just let our minds go and just kind of have fun and just make stuff. I think even if throughout my extended family, I think my uncle has tried his way to try to be a like R&B singer, things like that. Like things like my family, I think tries their hardest to branch out into that kind of realm, and I don't think a lot of them could have the ability to. You know, I think me and like like our generation and our family are doing a lot more in terms of that. Like I think on my dad's side, my cousins are like renowned like athletes, and then one is like a rapper, and he's been doing it for the last like 5 or 6 years, and he's like getting to a point where he's got management and stuff like that, and he's just kind of building and building. So it's kind of like I think for me and the my generation growing up in the family, we are kind of doing a little bit more, which I am very proud of because I feel like our parents and our parents' parents worked really hard just so we can have that. So, you know, I mean, it only makes sense to, you know, do it with all you can, you know?
For sure, man, especially if the love is there to do something creative, because I think there's a lot of people who have that touch like yourself with multiple things, you know, like what you're doing, music and tie-dye and production, and I think a lot of people quit on it because, you know, we all got to eat and it's hard to make a living as a creative. But then life gets busy and people kind of they put it in the background. But it's like I always kind of look at it like if it makes you feel alive and you're naturally drawn to it, that's a sign from like the cosmos, God, whatever you want to call it, that you shouldn't quit on that thing. You know what I mean? Like some people, like how some people can look at numbers, you know what I'm saying? And they just get it. Like me, that was like I'm an anxious person anyway. That was like a full-blown panic attack. I hated math.
Yeah.
So I'd look at an equation and I'd be like, damn, I got to do long division and show my work on this. This is crazy. You know, one train's coming from Alaska, the other train's coming from Florida. I'm like, why would one be coming from Alaska and the other coming from Florida? And why are they meeting in the middle? And why do I got to do this? Um, but you know, some people can just look at numbers and get it. Some people can look at art and just get it, you know, or draw or whatever. And when I was a kid, that was my first love was drawing, man. Like I was really good at it. And I've told this story a couple times on the pod, but not to make it about me, but I think you'll think this is funny as a creative person. But like, you know, a lot of little kids, they can just do stick figures, you know. But I could like draw people when I was a kid, man. And so we were supposed to draw like our families in like kindergarten. And I think, they put it on the hall. This is little Jimmy's, this is
Oh,
Mikey,
yeah.
Nard's or whatever. And my brother Brandon, and I had kind of forgotten it, but he was like, yeah, I remember like you drew he's like, you drew like King Kong and you did like the nipples and everything. So they were thinking like you drew like your mom topless. And I'm like, what? But yeah, so I could draw when I was a little kid. And like when I was in second grade, I took art classes for a little bit at Toledo Museum of Art, which in my hometown, it's a really good Toledo's got some gems, man. Like that's Toledo Museum of Art is really dope. And so yeah, I that was before any of this stuff kind of came along with like broadcasting and writing and all that stuff. I think the evolution of it for me was always like I really loved drawing. That was like a freedom of expression. I always was drawn to music, even though I wasn't musically inclined and creative writing when I was young. So it all kind of like parlayed into this. So anyway, not making it about me and me drawing King Kong with nipples when I was 5, but
The
just
nipple
because
king of
but just because you like and you're talented at the creative end of things, I think it's important for people to not give up on it. And I think that's kind of where things are today. It's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game with social media, whether it's music, podcasting. Like I'll look at downloads, where are they coming from? But then I got to remind myself as like an independent creator, I'm like, yo, like even though it's good to have measurables, that still shouldn't be a barrier to whether or not you continue to do something or stop doing something, in my opinion. Like if you're doing it for the love of it and it becomes something, then that's awesome. But if you love it, you should just do it, period. You shouldn't go, oh, well, this only got X amount of downloads, or this only got so many views or so many plays, and or this one did really good. So maybe I should make another song that really sounds like this. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know about you, but some of my favorite artists, I love the deep cuts. As much or if not more than any of the singles. So anyway, there's not a question in there, but shout out to your mom, shout out to your sister, and the creative people in your family, man, for kind of instilling that in you, and fostering it. Because I'm glad you're still doing it. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Nard, and thanks again so much, dude. It's good to catch up with you. Because I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if I asked him this before. Maybe I did in your previous work, but being the musical guy that you are, man, with the skills that you have, do you remember your earliest, like your earliest musical memory? And then second to that, like what pulled you to the heavier end of things?
Oh, that's a good one. Earliest expression. I had to have been at least 6 or 7. It could have been from a TV show. It could have been from a movie. It could have just been listening to the radio. I know for sure it had to be from some medium of that kind. I remember always being around my sister. So my sister's 6 years older than me. So by the time I was like 7, 8 years old, she was already 15, 16 years old. So I always was around her when she would be on MTV or like watching HV1, VH1 or stuff like that. And I think the earliest I can really go to is I remember waking up on a Saturday morning and my sister was on the TV. She was putting on her Saturday morning MTV rotation, and it was Boys and Girls by Good Charlotte. And that was one of the first forms of actual like of a music video that I could remember. And I wasn't allowed to watch MTV when I was that age. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and just wake up and just watch this music video. And I was like, this is really cool. And to the point where my sister whipped around, she was like, "You were awake?" And I was just like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that." And like, I think when it came to actually getting my hands becoming like actually wanting to be a musician, I think that also came from MTV. I was getting closer and closer into heavier music just through that medium. So I got more and more into pop punk, of course. Then I got into a little bit of my alternative stage during my preteen era. So that's when I started to learn the foundation of Disturbed, Breaking Benjamin, you know, Mastodon, stuff like that. And then as I got into heavier stuff is when I got into high school. And I remember high school because the first experience that I had was I was hanging out with my friends and one of my friends, she was just like, I want to put on some music. Let me put something on. And it was the final episode by Asking Alexandria. And that kind of just set it off after that. And then I got deeper and I got into Kill Switch. And then I got into, oh, let me think, got into deathcore. Then I got into more metalcore. And then I would assume actually within the last 5 or so years, that's when I started getting into hardcore. Because hardcore, when it comes to the area that I'm in Virginia, it sometimes is a little bit of a scary, intimidating kind of vibe. Like I think every other hardcore scene kind of is. It's like from someone who's an outside kind of getting into it, you have to like feel like you have to puff up your chest. You got to be all big and bad and stuff like that. And then I guess I just was like, I just wanted to listen to it. I just want to get more involved in it because I felt like hardcore became a little bit more of like the most genuine form of alternative music, I feel like, because there was no glitz and glam. There was not a lot of like, I just want to look the best. I just want to sound the best. It was just, I have something that I'm angry about and I want to speak my mind on it. And just everyone in the band is like, okay. And they just vibe together. And I just loved how carefree and how almost very almost lack of rules. Like there was just a rule free zone where it's just like it doesn't care about what the scale you use or what chords you use or whatever. As long as it hits and it rips, that's all that matters. And I felt very out of the loop of that kind of sense, like I spent almost 9 to 10 years with my last project. And I don't think I think Pat, when we were past our third year, I don't think I ever got that sense of freedom. I never felt like that. You know, I always felt like, and it's one of the reasons why I got into alternative music, into like punk and hardcore and stuff like that, because I always felt like I couldn't fit into spaces. Like, you know, especially being like, you know, a person of color, it just felt like I don't fit sometimes with my own people. I don't sometimes fit with the people that I have, you know, similar interests with. And, you know, especially with just my own mental health and things like that, it always made me feel like I couldn't fit anywhere. So, hardcore, once I started to actually let myself be open to it and listen to more of it and stuff like that, it kind of did bring in a little bit of a sense of self. And that sense of self is that I don't fit anywhere and I'm proud of it, you know, kind of vibe.
Hell yeah, man. And I appreciate you sharing that, Nard, because I feel like you know, that's something a lot of people can relate to. And like literally as we're doing this, it's suicide prevention awareness month. And there's a lot of people I feel like who would still be here if they felt like they could be themselves and just be free with who they are. You know what I mean? And it's so I appreciate you sharing that because yeah, it's there's a lot of people I think who go through like outcast moments in their life. Um and some people they always feel that way and through their own personal experiences and I think one of the best things that we can do is express ourselves and try to learn more about people, places, things that are outside of our experience because that's how you get rid of unfamiliar. And I wish more people felt like they could be themselves, man. So I'm glad that you're in a space, it seems like creatively, where you feel like you're stepping into that, dude. That's awesome.
Appreciate it, dude. I really do, honestly. It's been a long time. I mean, I guess it's just maybe once I hit 30, I was just like, I don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore. I'm just going to do what I want to do. I want to be happy. I want to make something that means something. I want to give a damn about something. And if I can't do it with these people, I'm just gonna do it without. And you know, I feel like a lot of people forget that sometimes a lot of that growing and a lot of that thing, those things that you want to learn and try to like get better at, it takes a lot of times for you to be isolated. It takes you a lot of times to be by yourself to figure it out. It takes a lot of time to be the only person you have to get this information and to actually put it into good practice. And you know, like I look at my time since I started Ruckus VA as damn, I've just been from one work point to another work point, but I am never regretting and I'm never unhappy with the things that I'm making.
That's the best place to be, man, right? You know, like if you can have the creative freedom to do what you want and then be really proud of the work, that's like the best headspace to be, man. Like and like even doing this show, that's why I love getting to do this podcast because I it definitely leans heavy because like I love heavy music, but it's getting to have conversations with people from different musical genres, different walks of life, uh, different countries. Like it's I enjoy exploring the unknown uh when it comes to creativity and just people in general because it's like it's a big world out there, man. You know what I mean? And
It's
like even moving
huge.
here to Nashville, like I was kind of a music snob when it came to country, man. I can't lie. Just coming from the heavy end of things. And I've said this before a few times on the show too, but then like when I came here, there was a dude who told me about Chris Stapleton. He's like, you need to check out that Traveler record, man. I'm like, country. I kind of listen to like metal, dude. And he's like, no, listen to that record. It's good. And I was like, damn, this dude has got like a soulful voice. He's a hell of a guitar player. Like it's like some bluesy vibe in here. Like he doesn't sound like he's trying to sound like anybody. I'm like, this is some good stuff, man. And then even more recently in that space, I've become like a huge stan of Steven Wilson Jr. Like that Son of Dad record. I tell everybody with ears about that record. And so like so it's a long way of saying like I think the more, not to sound preachy, but I think the more people expose them to maybe areas that they either were, kind of standoffish with, or maybe made had preconceived notions about, the more you surround yourself with the unknown, the more you comfortable you become. And not only that, but your worldview expands and your palate expands. You might find something really dope that you like, you know what I mean, versus just staying in one space. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I agree. Like I don't know when I started doing this, but I have this interesting coping mechanism where if things get really bad, I get to a point where I isolate myself to the point where like when my fiance pulls cards, I'm the hermit when she pulls a card. So I take it with pride because honestly, I feel like I learned a lot about myself when I took those times by myself because I remember there was a point, I think I was like just turning 21, 22, something like that. And I was realizing that I was kind of almost getting sucked into the rat race of just okay, I'm just gonna work, get wasted from Friday to Sunday, and then start it all over again. And I just got caught up in that for a couple years actually, and to the point where I was starting to realize that I need to take myself out of that equation and try to just hang out and just be with myself because I noticed that I was going to other people to distract me from things or to this thing to distract me from why am I getting so sad or why am I so upset or why am I having these moments where I'm feeling like I'm not good enough to even like exist. And I started to realize that it is me trying to put almost like the version of me that I don't want to look at. I was putting it on the wayside. And I had this point where something hit me, and like I had this thought of like, you're never gonna know your whole self unless you look at look at the side that you don't like. And I think that took a very big part of me to really say, I'm going to sit with myself. And when I get to these dark points, rather than trying to run from it and trying to distract myself from it, I need to sit on these things and actually feel them and actually find out where is this coming from. And I think when it even now, when I start doing that, I am now getting revelations. I'm starting to get epiphanies. I'm starting to get realizations, to the point where now, oh, I now know why I feel like this because back when I was 9, this is da 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 and stuff like that. So it makes it a lot easier for me to understand myself, but also not to make it seem like I'm just a ticking time bomb, but I'm now more aware of is what is myself. And then with that, I can now traverse those problems and traverse those obstacles with a far better head on my shoulders.
That's good to hear, man. And I genuinely, Nard, like and I'm glad you're still here, dude. Like I don't know how dark it ever got, but I'm glad you're still doing what you're doing and moving along and doing some sick new stuff with Ruckus VA, man, because I relate a lot to the hermit stuff. Like I'm definitely like an extroverted introvert. I love talking with people, doing the
Mhm.
podcast and stuff, but social settings make me anxious though. I don't know, like it gets me a little, you know what I mean? Even though I feel like
Yeah.
I can talk to anybody, like it's just, and we're in wild times too, man. And like it just I don't know, like it's but that's kind of a coping mechanism for me too. Like as you were saying that, I'm like, dude, I totally relate because I will isolate and just kind of exist in my own little world, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's like you said, there's breakthroughs that come in that you learn about yourself in those silent moments. Um Away from people. And therapy's been a big help for me. Exercise has always been therapeutic. Um, but then I think the more time like I get in social settings, or especially if it's people that I don't spend a lot of time around, um, I'm like, yo, like you just find like the common ground. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
more, you know, we all have more in common with each other than I think we realize. You know what I'm saying? Um, and creativity, I think, is something that I wish more people exercised, even if they thought they weren't creative, or they, you know, they were the kindergartners drawing stick figures instead of King Kong with nipples like me. They, like I feel like, it's good to express that part of yourself, because if, like you said, if you're just working all the time, and that happens a lot, where I think for a lot of people too, where it's like, you do that Monday to Friday grind, then you weekend warrior it, kind of
Yeah.
numb, you know what I mean? And it's like we spend so much time either numbing or chasing another feeling to get rid of the feeling that we're having, that we don't ever really sit in the feeling that we're having. And if you can learn to sit in it, even if it seems kind of scary, you learn not to, I don't have to fear this. Like, this is just part of who I am. Somebody wise told me, "I'm look at your thoughts as passing clouds." And that like blew me away. I'm like, oh, I don't have to address all this crazy stuff that goes on up there sometimes, that like that I don't have to, I don't, and it's like, yeah, just look at it as a passing cloud. Like, there it goes. Like, it's not all of, like, we are not our thoughts. So anyway, it's a long way of me saying, man, I'm glad that it feels like, just from talking with you, you feel more comfortable being in your own skin, man. Because there'd be a lot of people who would still be here if they felt like they could be, they felt safe to be that way, if they felt welcome to be that way. um and they explored those parts of themselves where they were like, yo, I can step into this now, because it's real easy to numb and chase, man. It's real easy to distract ourselves with other things, and sometimes it's good, sometimes you got to shut it off and just watch some mindless TV, or like, you know or like when I was spamming you 100 memes a day on Instagram. you
Oh
know
yeah, exactly. I would just kind of be like, let me peruse what he's got, what he sent me today, or sent me this hour. Let's see. But honestly, I agree. It's like it is it is something that a lot of people unfortunately are so scared to deal with. And I think one thing that kind of broke down a long friendship of mine was that I always kept seeing him try to get into producing, see him try to actually do stuff like by himself. And I'd be like, dude, you can do this stuff. You have the equipment, you have the plugins, you have the expensive computer, you have all the tools you need. You just need to just shut off that part of your brain that makes you think that you can't do this by yourself, and you will do it. And it went for years and years to the point where it's like, well, if that's not going to be your path, I'm going to take that path myself, because I would love for them to see that part of themselves, but they are so far into their own way that I can't push that off. I can't redirect you. So it's like sometimes it's the sad part, which is certain friends or certain partners or connections that you have in life, sometimes you have to let them get themselves out of their way, but sometimes you can't be there for them to see if they can or not. It's just sometimes you have to give that space for your other friends that can actually see that, or if they don't, sadly, that energy is not needing for you to be a part of, because it just is going to bring you down. Because, of course, like everyone knows, misery loves company, and the worst thing you can do is really just keep yourself into a space with other people that make you feel like, well, if they don't feel like they're good enough, well, what does that say about me? And I had to just kind of be okay with cutting that friendship off and just being like, I can't really enjoy being a creative person when your space, because it's not it stifles, and I feel like everyone needs to have a space where they feel free and feel like they can grow. And no matter how weird or how interesting or how whatever that may be, let them grow. And I think a lot of people sometimes just get in their own way, and that's I think the most sad portion of it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear that, man, about the friendship, dude. Like, it's tough, but energy is real, like you said, and sometimes you gotta distance yourself from vibes that aren't beneficial to you, and we all gotta kind of you know, like we all got to kind of find our own way. That's one thing I've learned through therapy too, man. You can get great advice, but you got to kind of put it into practice. And you can inspire people, right? Like music can inspire, movies can inspire. You can watch some inspirational thing and be all jacked up in the moment, but at the end of the day, in your own life, when you face adversity, sometimes you're around people that can help you, but sometimes you're by yourself and you're like, okay, I gotta deal with this. You know what I mean? Whether I want to or not, I eventually have to kind of like face this and figure out, okay, one, how can I get better, but also how am I contributing to my own suffering? How can I improve my situation when I don't have the help? You know what I mean? So I'm sorry to hear that the friendship that you kind of had to walk away from, but I guess as a positive kind of footnote for what we're talking about too, man. And thanks again so much, Nard, for taking the time and for opening up, dude. I appreciate it. That's why I love doing the pod, man. And it's always been good the times we talked before. But not asking you to be prescriptive for other people, but as somebody who's in a better headspace now, man, and as somebody who, like you said, feeling like, whether it's your own people or whether it's the music that you like and not seeing the kind of representation in that space, um, as somebody who's kind of dealt with all of that, like and dealt with, feeling like an outcast or feeling like you said, where do I fit? Who's in a better headspace now? What advice would you give, man? I know you said like isolation in some ways did help you. Like, what advice would you give to people who maybe feel like that, like they feel kind of like an outcast or, where do I fit? Whether it's with my race, whether it's with music, like as somebody who was in that space and is in a better headspace now, like what helped you kind of get through that and to get where you are now? Because I feel like again, just with the month, it being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and a lot of people who can kind of relate to that outcast feeling, man.
Well, I think really the biggest thing is you have to tap in to a confidence. There needs to be a fire that only you yourself can extinguish. It has to have, you have to have a conviction. You have to have a reason to just say, this is who I am and this is how I'm going to be. And let those things, because of course, no matter where you say you fit or you don't fit, there's always going to be people that will see value, always see you as a good addition to a friend or as a partner, as anything. You will find us home, but it's wading through the storm of feeling like you're not good enough. And then once you actually wade through that storm, that's where, you find those outliers that also feel like that. And then that's how you kind of you find your friends, you find your home, but you have to have that confidence and that willingness to put yourself out there. And that doesn't mean, you have to go there to a bar, doesn't mean you have to like be out all the night, it's just letting yourself be open to opportunities to be around a safe space, not to always think that you're going to be criticized. Because I know a lot of times that's what made me feel like I couldn't hang out or I couldn't go out, is that I felt like I was going to be criticized. I felt like I was going to be judged. I felt like I was going to be treated differently because they look at me as one way, but then I speak and it's a different way. Or because of my interests, it's a different way. And, I'm so not I'm probably so far from being stereotypical to the point where there is so many things different about me that somebody's going to be confused or someone's going to have that face of judgment. And I tell people that when you see that face of judgment, don't retreat back into yourself. I want you to pretend that you have the biggest chest in the room. And I want you to puff it up because that shows that you are saying things that are far different than they have ever heard, which means that there is something unique about you, whether it being negatively or positively received. There's something special about you. And that, no matter what you may think about yourself, there is no such thing as the world would be better without you. I don't think that is actually a true statement. I don't believe that anybody who feels like if I was out of this earth, my family would be better, my friends would be better, or anything. No one's going to feel better once they have to lay you down in a casket. And I feel like that is one of the things that I had to think about too. Like I've had many close sprints of not being here. And one of the things that really made me turn a very big 180 is thinking about my mother and my sister and my brother and like my friends that I really hold close to having to carry me to a gravesite or having to see me in a in a viewing, and to know that it wasn't because of I just went to sleep and I was gone, but because I couldn't handle being here, that I needed to break those hearts. And I feel like a lot of people are very, very numb to that when they're really deep into it. And I want people to really have that confidence, because I think with that confidence, you start to listen and start to value the people around you as well. And I think that puts it far more into perspective that you are a unique person, you are a special person, and that you are loved. But because of you, because people may view you as different, does not mean that you are bad. That just means you're different. And I think that is something really cool.
I appreciate you sharing that, Nard, for real, man. Because it's important to talk about these kind of things, and I don't even mean that in a self-righteous way, but yeah, there's just like you said, you think about those moments, and um, I think sometimes we can get so kind of, people, whether people struggle with depression or anxiety or whatever it is, social anxiety or OCD, like um they get to that point where they feel like, yeah, it would just be better if I weren't here. But I think like what you said is really powerful, because when you do think about your family, your friends, the people who really do love you, like the true ride or dies, and visualizing, okay, but it's not going to be better for them. The people who care about you are going to miss you terribly. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm glad you're still here, brother, for real, man. And I'm glad that you're in a better space. And I appreciate you opening up on here, man, and to put a button on it. Um, and bringing it back to Ruckus VA, dude, I'm really excited for you. I'm glad that you're stepping into this creative space, making music that you love, dude. And there's so much I could talk to you about, but I don't want to chew your ear off, and I've already kept you a little bit over. But I guess just as kind of to put a button on this bad boy. And thanks again so much, dude, for opening up and sharing what's on your heart, man. I really appreciate it.
Of
Um,
course.
because I know I've said it a few times, but I think it's a lot of people are going to relate to it. Um, but is there a theme, would you say, to these songs, like compared to the first one with Decidual Cast? Like, do they all kind of, are they like symbiotic? Do they all kind of stand on their own? In terms of like an EP's worth of material? Like, is your goal to put out an EP? And if so, is there kind of a theme to it, or are these just kind of like Nard bangers, for lack of a better way to say it?
Honestly, it's a bit of both. It is a collection of songs that I think I just had very strong feelings on. Like, I feel like for Decidual Cast, it was just kind of like a disdain for a like for a certain human being that feels like they are better than, whether it be from a financial standpoint or by because of their race or because of something trivial like that. They feel like there is a power that they possess over others. And I think a lot of those things is just with other songs, it all kind of coincides with that. I think there's one song where we talk about, you know, racism, and we talk about the impact that has, and to the point of, it goes to the reference of the Nat Turner Rebellion. And and then there's points where we talk about mental health, but it gets into a very more brutal type sense of it, rather than just saying, I'm brushing over these things, I'm upset, I'm sad. No, I want to bring a very visceral portion of things, but also having this weird independency to each song. So the EP, all right, my EP right now has no rhyme or reason, but I know that I wanted to call it American Gods, based off of the book and the TV series. Because I loved the sense of the power dynamic, the sense of self, the sense of emotions, the sense of actual, things that we deal with in a day to day. I try to really, each song is just kind of like a declaration to what's going on in our country, in our society, what we deal with on a day to day basis, with a little bit more of a WTF kind of vibe to it, like, because I can't tell you in musically what's going on. Like, there's certain parts where, like, I don't know, man, like ODB's on one of the songs. Like, I don't know, man. Like, and then there's like some random stuff coming from this song and this show and this thing. So it's all just to show that America as a country has gone to a certain depth that I feel like has not been really spoken on. I think that it hasn't really been talked about, especially in like the metal community. I feel like the metal community has been very closed off. It's been very much on the money, the streams, and the glamour, rather than the actual things that are happening and the actual things that are going on. So I'm just kind of trying to put that on the forefront and just saying this is a space for people that feel like they are marginalized and that they are being demonized just because of trivial things like that. And I just, I want to have that voice for those people because I am part of that group as well.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, Nard, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for giving me more than an hour of your time. I kept you a little over, dude, but I felt like we were vibing like we always do and having a good conversation. And genuinely, dude, I want to say it to you, like I'm glad you're still here, dude, for real. I know we've never met in person, but just hearing you speak about some of the stuff that you went through, man. Like I'm sorry you've been through that, but I'm happy that you're in a better headspace, brother, and that you got sounds like a kick-ass fiance to be there by your side through it all, dude.
I
Um,
agree.
and I'm glad that you're in a good space, both creatively and just as a human. And I appreciate you sharing everything that you shared with me and the listeners today, dude.
Of course, dude. Honestly, happy to be here. It never is a bad conversation when I'm talking with you, Meg. Honestly, since day one, doing these things, like it's always been a good rapport with us. So it was like once you hit me up about getting on the podcast, I was like, hell yeah, it's just talking to a homie.
Likewise, dude. Well, I appreciate. Well, the links will be in the podcast description for everybody listening. But let them know, dude. Let them know where they can find Ruckus VA.
Ruckus VA, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you stream music. Pretty much, you can look us up and find us. Instagram is pretty much like my favorite place to put in random things. I put up a lot of memes, mostly memes, unless I'm releasing music. But it's always a fun time and it's always something that I enjoy doing. So if you like it, follow, look at the shenanigans.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Nard Grice of Ruckus VA. Make sure you go follow Ruckus VA on Instagram at ruckus.va. The links to all of it will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow my guy Nard and Ruckus VA. You will not be disappointed if you love hardcore, metalcore, deep lyrics and just brutal riffs and great vocals, man. Like I'm really excited for Nard on this new journey. with Ruckus VA. The guy is a beast on the bass, as you heard in that conversation. Getting his hands into music production with what he's done previously, and with Ruckus VA, and just a beast on the vocals as well. Like it's the rhythm in this is awesome. The lyricism is deep. His vocals are from his soul, man, and I'm really excited for this new chapter. So I just want to say to Nard, dude, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to chat with me on this podcast. And beyond the music and everything, I just want to say I'm glad that you have persevered, through your mental health challenges, my guy, and that you're open enough and vulnerable enough to share that with myself and the listeners on this podcast. Obviously, with the theme of March 4th being perseverance and moving forward, the fact that it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, the fact that I feel like, not to sound self-righteous, and maybe I need to stop prefacing, but I feel like conversations like this between, two grown men with mental health struggles, who also love music and know the cathartic release and the creative release that music and art in general is, just as humans, not even as men. Like, I think all those things are things that help bring people together and help people feel less alone. So, as stoked as I am for you for Ruckus VA, I'm really just excited that we've gotten to connect out here, man, through the interwebs, and that you're kind enough to always come on this podcast, and you are welcome anytime that you want to come on, man, and share your updates on your life path and musical path with myself and the listeners, because you're supremely talented. And like I said, just beyond that, on a human to human level, dude, I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad that you're continuing to persevere through your mental health challenges as they come. I'm glad that you have a creative outlet and talent and skill that you've worked on and continue to work on with your music and your voice. And I'm glad that you've got an awesome fiance by your side to support you and cheer you on as well, man, and somebody awesome to walk through life with. So thank you all the way around, Nard. I appreciate you, my guy. Once again, everybody, please go follow Ruckus VA if you are into hardcore, metalcore. Whether you're somebody that just wants some heavy hitters in the gym, whether you want some bangers in the car. Um, this encapsulates all of that, and beyond that, like, there's meaning behind these songs. Obviously, Nard and I talked about that a little bit, but with Decidual Cast and the upcoming single this Friday, September 26th, 3 Foot Grave is the new one that's coming out from Ruckus VA. So I appreciate Nard bearing his soul. I appreciate him, being vulnerable with his music and with this conversation. And I appreciate all of you. And I want to say thank you to all of you who are listening, who have stayed till the end. Not just because it's cool when people listen to the podcast and it makes me feel good to know that I'm having some type of ripple effect out here, maybe, but just in general, that you're here in general, for real. People that are listening to this who I don't even know, I am glad that you are persevering through whatever challenges you're going through in your life, and that you're still alive to tell the tale. I get to cross paths with a lot of interesting people, and the fact is, we're all interesting. Everybody has a story, and everybody goes through struggles. Everybody goes through highs and lows. There's always going to be a balance in the universe of light and dark, and it's going to happen in all of our lives, whether it's heartbreak, death is part of life. There's going to be curveballs that life throws you that you don't see coming, man. And the important thing is to just try as hard as you can to just persevere through it. On your darkest days, just remember how many people love you, how many people are rooting for you, even when it seems like nobody has your back. I promise you, there are people out there who love you and who care about you and who want the best for you in this life. And don't give up. Don't give up, because not only because they believe in you, but because you believe in yourself. And I promise you, you have a place in this world, you have a voice in this world, and you don't need to be a famous musician. You don't need to be a famous actor. You don't need to be, a multi-billion-dollar mogul or athlete. Just being a good human being is enough. And I wish people knew that. So whatever it is that makes you feel alive, whether it's art, whether it's exercise, um, architecture, photography, baking, cooking, whatever it is, maybe you're really into movies and movie production or music production, like don't give up on those things. If you got to save some money to really go at them, more seriously, then save your money and go at them, but don't quit on them, man. Whatever it is that you love that you didn't ask for, I think is proof positive from God and the universe that that's what you should go after. And we all got to eat, we all got to pay our bills, man. But if there's creative itches that you need to scratch, or there's stuff that you love that you enjoy doing, maybe you like to rebuild engines, you like to work on cars, like don't quit on that stuff, man, because we get one life to live, and I think we should spend as much time as possible in the company of the people that we love when we have the time and the money to do it. And beyond the things we have to do with work and eating and paying bills and feeding ourselves and our loved ones, I think that feeding your creative itches, whatever those are, you got to do it. So please do it. I love you. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. Courtesy of Nard from Ruckus VA, here is the debut single, Decidual Cast. Peace.
Surrounded by boys, but what I'm thinking, I should silence your very irrelevance. I'm not ready for the rage. Battle the track, I'm dead. All of the shirt, no longer away. Something much worse. Chooses perception lies. Solid glimpse as you're so late. Now I watch the climb. Burn into shoulders that only grow colder. Dead away. I did paper worthless bitch. Karma will deeper than you know. The sins you committed, all eventually show. So